Okay, I'm back to talk about. I'm going to talk about two shows, but the first show I want to talk about is one I did mention in my 2023 K drama review, which was Perfect Marriage Revenge. Now, I've already kind of given the basis of the plot, so if you want to find out what I'm talking about, just go watch my last video. You know what I mean? Anyways, I'm sorry. So basically, this one is it was so good. I had a feeling it was gonna be good, and it was amazing. It's one of my favorite dramas I've watched in 2023, as it was in my review, but it's also one of my favorite dramas I've watched genuinely, and that's in, I think I just hit 107. So like, that's pretty high praise. It watches like a soap opera, but it's not cheesy. Because there's like a whole subset of K-dramas that's like melodrama K-drama, right? Where it's like even more dramatic, and it watches like a soap opera or like, what's it called? A telenova? I don't think that's how you pronounce it. But anyways, let me move my legs here. Okay. So that, it watches like that, but it's not cheesy. Which I was really happy about, because I was like, if this had been corny, I don't think I would have been able to like get into it. Anyways, so it's a really great show. It's amazing. The main two like leads have impeccable chemistry. Like but the reason I wanted to make the video was because I wanted to talk about the male lead. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that most of the time I love the male leads almost every time. There's almost never a show where I don't like the main guy. It's just a fact. I frequently don't like the women. And you know what? Come at me, say I'm sexist, say I'm, say it's misogynistic, whatever you want to say, But the thing is, they write the female leads terribly sometimes. And sometimes they write the male leads terribly as well. I've definitely hated male leads 100%. And they used to this is just a total change of what I was talking about, but it used to be when they would write male leads in K-dramas, like it's a very known thing of like if you've been watching the shows for a long time, which I haven't been watching them very long, but I've also just seen clips and I've seen people talk about it enough that I like get a general understanding. Male leads used to be so freaking toxic. It was very rare to find a male lead that didn't have some toxic trait that was just like, Loki's such a red flag. And it was like, why are we like romanticizing this character? He's literally manipulating her. He's gaslighting her. He's like stalking. This is again total off rant, but there is a show called, it's so weird, I don't know why it's called this, something, gosh, it's like Cheese Trap. Hold on, we're about to just do a little Google. Cheese in the Trap, that's what it's called. Okay, so Cheese in the Trap, it is the worst K-drama I've ever watched, and I only watched like 2 or 3 episodes. Okay, I have to burp. Oh, hiccup. I'm sorry. It's one of the worst K-dramas I think exists out there. Because when I was getting into the show, right, I was like, I'll watch it. Sure, I'll try it. The comments that I read were like, he's kind of low-key creepy, but kind of hot at the same time. And I was like, wait, what? No, he's so creepy. The male lead is a total freaking creep. He's a perv, and he's weird, and he's like a stalker, and you're like supposed to like him. And the second male lead that's in that show specifically is so much better than the male lead, and he's so the main male lead is so creepy, and she ends up with the creepy one. Like, people would talk about, like, I think it was like their first kiss scene or something was like really weird because it was like eerie. It was just weird, right? And that's like a frequent problem. There's like a lot of like very like OG K-dramas where people are like, I love this show. The male lead's like really toxic and kind of a horrible person, but I love this show. And I'm like, I can't do it. And so that's why this show, Perfect Marriage Revenge, he was such a good, positive male lead. He was so on her side from literally the first episode, knowing, like, at least as an audience, we don't know at the beginning of the show how much he knows about her. Obviously, towards the end of the show, you find out that he also had gone back a year. So they both basically traveled backwards a year. And so that's why he was so way more like accepting of everything she told him. And he didn't think it was weird that she wanted, revenge, or he didn't. That's why he was so for it. But as an audience, before you know that, you just see him as this guy who, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You just see him as this guy who's like so great and so lovely and so just oh my gosh, so freaking romantic. Like, okay, there is a whole scene. So there's a big part of the show is that she is very like thin and kind of skinny when he first meets her because she doesn't eat very often, because when she lived at her house she was poisoned one day by the food. You come to find out later it was her stepmom, or not her stepmom, her adopted mom who poisoned her. Oh, big shock. Her adopted mom literally freaking hated her. It was a whole thing. But anyways, so she was scared to eat food and she was always afraid to eat. So when she marries, well, I don't know why I quoted, she does marry him. I don't know why I did that. When they're married, she lives at the same, like, the house that he used to live at, but he doesn't stay there because, oh my gosh, don't even get me on that too. Like, he knows that he knows it's like a marriage contract basically. So he's like so respectful of her and he's like, you stay here. I'll go live at my, my family house, like my parents' house. You just stay here. You have this house, this like apartment to yourself, bro. And then when she gets there and he's showing her the food and he's showing her all the cupboards and whatever, all the food is like packaged. It's like prepackaged. So he's like, so you know that I couldn't have tampered with this because it's prepackaged food. And then when he makes her food, like when he cooks for her, because that's like a big thing he does is he cooks for her, which is, oh my god, this is a whole nother thing. He tries her food first. He takes some of her food, tries it, and goes, okay, I didn't drop dead, so. And it's like, please, why? And he understands her and he tries to understand. He tries to like, he really just like puts the effort in to like understand her. And like, okay, so like a big part of it obviously too is that like when she went back a year, she broke up with her at the time fiance, who if she hadn't broken up with him would have become her husband, right? And so he's just always there. And he also, he works at the company that her actual, like the husband that we like, he works at the company. And so they're like always together. So it's like this weird awkwardness or whatever. And there's just like this one scene where the ex is going on and on to the husband being like, oh, she's just using you, blah, 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 blah. And the husband literally is like, I don't care if she's using me. I don't care. He's like, I hate seeing her pretty name come out of any other man's mouth. And then he says something like, I should rip your tongue out of your mouth. I was like, literally make out with me. Like, actually shut up. Why are you so protective? Anyways, I love him so much. And here's the thing. The actor himself, though his name is Sung-hoon, I don't particularly, he's not like one of my top favorite K-drama actors. He's not one of my top people that I'm like really obsessed with, because I have like certain actors that I'm so obsessed with, right? He's not one of them, but he slayed in this role so hard. And he just has so many lines and he does so many things. Also, they're kissing so freaking good. Oh my gosh, it was such a good scene. And also, it becomes a lot more meaningful when you realize too that like he also was from a year before. Like he also had that, like he started his year over too. So you realize that like, oh, okay, that's why he's so like, all the things he says and how in love with her he is, it all makes more sense. Like it gets a lot more meaningful. And that's when you find out that he's also from, like, they both went back in time. That's when you find out. Okay, pause. I'm using a lot of breath right now and it's a struggle. Anyways, let's see. I think that was pretty much everything I wanted to say about the show. It ended. It ended on such a good note too. It was such a good show. It's so worth it. You absolutely cannot. I haven't hated the villains in a show as much as this one recently. And actually, my hating the antagonist of the show is the other show I wanted to talk about. I was gonna talk about the negative parts about that show because it's low-key just ticking me off. But anyways, yeah, the antagonists in this show were just, holy cow, I couldn't stand them. I was like, I don't know if I'd ever be able to watch either of the two actresses that play like the main villains in a different show, because I was like, I couldn't stand them. Also, side note, the main male lead, right, his dad was also such a villain. He was like so awful, and it was just kind of like glossed over. And it was like, oh, it's like one of those things where sometimes I feel like this happens a lot in K-dramas, where the parents of one of the characters is just awful, right? They're just horrible, and it's not even that they're necessarily supposed to be like an antagonist in the show, because obviously there's a lot of shows that are based around like, oh, the parents are like the evil, that's like the big part of the conflict is the parent and the child's relationship. In this show, and in a different show I had watched, that wasn't even like a main part of the show. It was like just a side character parent who was like just awful. There was this other show that I watched that was so, I to this day still can't believe they made her character so terrible. It was a show called True Beauty, which gets a lot of freaking hate. Now listen, I watched that drama. I liked it. I don't think it's so bad. I don't know why people whine and complain about it so much. Did I have major second male lead syndrome? Yes, ma'am, I did, because the second male lead was so much better. And he was so cute, and he liked her for so long, and their dynamic was so interesting, and he was just so much better. He rode a motorcycle. He was so pretty. He had like an earring. And he just, I loved him so much. Anyways, her mom, like the main female lead on that show, her mom was horrific. She was so annoying. She was so mean. She was awful. And I also just hated how they took very serious themes in that show, and they didn't make it lighthearted, but it was also not as serious as it should have been, because there is a part where the main character, very early on in the show, tries to end her life. And it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, she wasn't like actually going to do it. It wasn't actually, it's like, no, she wanted to though. So, and then she gets back and is like sobbing to her family because she's just like super emotional because of what she almost just did. And then the mom, I don't know, the reaction, I hated the mom. I could go on, I could talk about that for 45 minutes, about how much I hated her and how she wasn't even supposed to be an antagonist. That's what drove me crazy. I was like, if she's supposed to be bad, whatever. She's supposed to be bad. She wasn't supposed to be. She was just the mom. She just like was horrible. Hated that. Okay, now this is the other show that I want to talk about. Now this is the one that I'm currently watching. I just finished the 12th episode. There's 16 episodes. I have a couple left. So this one is called Welcome to Samdalri. And holy cow. I kind of don't like this show, and I'm so mad. Sorry, my one side of my nose is like stuffy, so I'm so sorry if there's like a lot of sounds here. I just can't help it. Also, when I start to talk a lot, I just like, there's just a lot going on. Anyways, this show, I was so excited for this show because it has two main characters, like the two like that play the main leads are two actors that I really, really like. And I had actually just watched the male lead in a different show, like 2 months ago, and to say the roles that he's playing in these two shows is vastly different. They're so different, but he's slaying in both. Okay, so here's the problem. It's an exes get back together. Now, this is such a hit or miss trope, in my opinion, because obviously there's always going to be a lot of time in between, like, when you're introduced to the characters and then you see that they used to date, you see that they broke up, you see that each thing's right, you see like each thing happens, right? My issue with this show is I don't think I like exes getting back together shows. I don't think I like it because it's really, really freaking annoying. Because for the show's sake, they have to stretch out why they broke up, they have to stretch out the mystery, they have to make it last for a long time. And so you're sitting there just going, oh my gosh, just freaking tell us why they broke up and like have them communicate and so they can move on with their lives. No, just not possible, right? And in this show, I really, really didn't like the female lead at first because I was like, why is she lying to her ex about all these things and making everything so much worse for herself and making everything way more embarrassing? And like there's already so much like tension between them. Like, why are you making it so much worse? And that was the thing that drove me crazy about her. Thankfully, that kind of stopped after a couple episodes because I really like the actress. Like, I think she's great. I think she's beautiful. I think she's an amazing actress that has such duality. But I couldn't stand her in this show, and I was kind of sad because I was like, I don't want to hate you, but you're so annoying, right? But the real villain of the show is the reason I wanted to make a video, and it is the main male lead's dad. Now, the two main characters' families grew up together. So she's known her ex, and also technically, like, they were like besties growing up, and then they dated, and then they broke up, whatever. So she's known this guy, right, her whole life. She's known him her whole life. and they've been best friends for forever. And then obviously when they broke up, they hadn't like talked in long, like 8 years. But their families growing up were really, really close. Now, their moms are, I don't know how to pronounce it, but they basically are divers because this whole show is based on Jeju Island. So it's based on an island. And so their moms, like a big part of their job, their life is that they dive and they get like sea things. I don't know. I'm sure there's like a better explanation for it, but the main male lead, so his mom and the main female lead's mom were best friends, like super, super close. Their whole family was close, like both families were close, but the moms were best friends. And so what happened was the female lead's mom wanted to go out in the water to do more of like diving, right? And the water was like, there was like a lot of waves, or the weather was weird, or it was something like that, right? And then the male lead's mom was like, oh no, let's not let's not do it, let's just wait. And then the female lead's mom was like, no, I'm going to. And so the main male lead's mom went with her, and they went out together, and the main lead's mom dies, right? So then her husband, the father of the main male lead, blames that their family, and specifically the mom of that family, for killing his wife. Now, here's the thing. It is a hard thing to say, but I do not feel bad for the dad. Here's why. This man held a 20-plus year grudge against this family. Was the reason that the main couple broke up because he basically told the female lead, he was like, you have to break up with her, or break up with my son. Like, I can't let you be in my family. Like, I hate you. Like, I hate your family, basically, essentially. And then the female lead was like, no, I can't live without him. And he's like, I can't live without my son either. And he forced them to break up. That's why they broke up, was because of the dad. And when I say this man has held this freaking grudge for 21 years, like, it's been years since his wife died. It's very sad that his wife died, but it's the whole idea of like, if your wife was alive, she wouldn't want you to hate her best friend and her best friend's daughter. Like, that's not what the wife would have wanted. So it's like, why? And he's so horrible. He's so full of bitterness. It's almost crazy. And I didn't think he was going to be a problem in the show. I didn't think he was the main villain. In fact, once they kind of started introducing that he might be the major antagonist, I was like, oh, I bet her mom too. I bet it was like both the parents were like, no, you guys have to break up. No, just the dad. Just his dad. And I have never... Everything that he does drives me so crazy because I'm like, he's so insane. Also, I want you to keep in mind, this is the part that gets me the most. His son, guess how old his son is? Guess how old? He is 38. This is an almost 40-year-old man that he is treating like a 16-year-old. And that's the one thing that I really don't like about the show, is that they treat their adult children like kids. And I'm like, bro, your dad has no stake in your romantic relationship. Like, I know that it's like this whole long emotional thing of like, oh, my dad hates her family, I get that, sure. But in the long run, he does not have any authority in your life. You're 38! You're almost a 40-year-old man, and your dad is telling you what you can and can't do. Also, the dad kept trying, because like, the job that the male lead, the job that the male lead has, right, is he's a forecaster. And the amount of times his dad has been trying to transfer him, as if he has any power or any say over his son's life. He's like, I need to transfer. We need to transfer. And I was like, he's almost 40 years old. Like, that's the thing that annoys me, I think, the most of the show, is that I'm like, he's a grown man. Like, why are you dictating what your son can do when he literally is a grown man? Anyways, so that's my main grievance about the show, is just the dad. He's so freaking annoying. But I also just hate the whole exes getting back together. I know I already said that, but I really do, because it takes so long. There's so much drama, and there's so much this, that, and the other. And I personally just don't like the way they wrote the female lead. I don't like her motivations. I don't like how wishy-washy she is, and I get it. It's like there's a lot of emotional turmoil when it comes to her ex, because of how they broke up, and because of how much she didn't want to break up, and how much she loved him, and how much she still loves him, and I get all of that. But the problem is, they're writing the male lead so like lovingly and so honest with her and so like, I just want to be with you, like I don't care. And so when, even if it makes sense that her character is acting that way, it just comes off as super annoying because you're like, oh my gosh, look at this man in front of you, and just like stop denying the fact that you're in love with him, because you obviously are. But whatever, that's not the actress's fault, that's just the way the character's written. And the thing is, I watched the actress in a different show, and she is absolutely incredible. I loved her in that show. She is such a good actress. And the main male lead, stupidly good actor. He's so handsome. Oh my gosh, I just want to make out with him. Like, I don't care what that sounds like. He's so hot, and he's such a good actor, and he's so cute. And I don't know how to feel about it, because I'm like, why are you so romantic? Anyways, that's basically my main grievance, my main like 2 grievances with the show. I don't like how slow it's progressing. And now it's the whole thing of like, the end of the last episode was like the dad finding out that they're like kind of maybe dating again, like they're maybe kind of getting back together. And so he comes and he just like starts yelling at her and being like, I told you 8 years ago, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, the nice thing is he's now, the son is seeing why she broke up with him. Like, he's seen that it was his dad, and he's seen that that's why she broke up with him, and like that was the whole reason. Because that's like a big part of the show too, is like he kind of seemingly didn't know why, which, I mean, to be fair, she really just said like, let's break up, and that was it. So it wasn't anything deeper than that. But there's still, okay, also there's this whole extra part where because we saw her breaking up with him, right? And now we know why she broke up with him. But then we also see her coming to because they live like, they're neighbors, so they live across the street from each other, and her coming to him and being like, I can't do this, I don't want to break up with you, like, don't leave me, like, I don't want to do this. And then he finally like responds, like he texts her, and he's basically like, let's just break up, whatever. And he says like the same thing she said to him, like, I don't like you anymore, or whatever, which is also not true. And then you see him inside his house, hearing her like at his gate, and he's like sobbing. So there's still that part that we haven't seen. So I don't know if like his dad told him to break up with her, or like, I don't know why he kind of put the final nail in the coffin, because obviously she initiated it, but then she came back to him and was like, I don't want to break up. And then he broke up. So then it was like, that was like a big part of the show, was like, who broke up with who, and when in reality they kind of both broke up with each other, even though they didn't want to. I don't know. That's like a big part of the mystery of the show too, that they still haven't revealed. So we'll see if they do that now. Anyways, that's 22 minutes. You're welcome. This is how, when after I watch a show, this is like how I process things. Like, I will talk out loud to myself everything that I just said. Like, that's how I like process through the shows. Because, you know, you invest like many, many hours into these shows, and you have so many thoughts, and I'm just like, I have to get them out. So, yeah, I'll have to watch through this and make sure it makes any sense. But it probably won't make any sense, and that's fine. It can just be nothing. It could just be blah, 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 blah. Just rambling for 20 minutes. That's fine. Okay, anyways, thanks for potentially watching. Okay, love you. Bye-bye.